Well, ladies and gentlemen, today we have the pleasure of having Alfonso Stapler here with us. This is Bez Rengifo, Executive Search and Career Whisper. But I'm going to show you something first before we get started. So here we are. Wait a second. I want to do this. Okay, there we go. So today, this is the title of what we're talking about, right? If you're struggling to get interviews, you know, well, hey, we understand, and we're going to show you how to land interviews in 30 days. Is that what we're going to do, Alfonso? We're gonna share a little bit of knowledge tonight on a Friday night.
Absolutely. A couple of gold nuggets kind of help you get to that next point in regards to landing those interviews so you can take your career journey to where it needs to go.
Absolutely. So we're gonna get rid of this graphic here as I fumble around, and welcome everybody. This is a very nice topic that we're going to talk about today. Look, if you guys want to reach out to us, there's my LinkedIn profile. You can always reach out to me. My name is Bez Rengifo. You can find me there. But what we are today, a lot of people that I come across, they're having a hard time getting interviews. And there's a reason why. Alfonso, you and I talked a little bit about this. So, why are they having a hard time, and how should they sort of look at their job search?
Yeah, no, I think we're living in some interesting times right now within the job market. I'm sure a lot of candidates may feel like, or people that's been displaced is feeling like LinkedIn is saturated. The job market is saturated. There's jobs out there, but nobody's returning their phone calls or their emails or their messages or what have you. And we're living in some peculiar times right now. But my mindset has always been, when you're unemployed, or I like to say, in between blessings. When you're in between blessings, you have to treat your job search like a job. And what I mean by that, that's from attitude, that's from appeal, address, and that means you get up, you're at your computer at 8 o'clock in the morning, and you're off your computer by 4 o'clock. You take your lunch break around 12 o'clock, but in between those times, there's certain things that you should be doing to try to land that job. Thinking outside the box. What makes you different from the other candidates that are applying? How do you make yourself seen? How do you brand? How do you market yourself? How do you stay active in the job market? How do you make connections with the hiring leaders, hiring managers, or people of some type of influence? Using your connections and people that's part of your network. How are you networking? And you can't give up. You can't just apply to 2 to 3 jobs and then feel like you did your job for the week. No, it's an ongoing hustle. And you have to definitely be diligent about that.
Okay, great. And you and I have different philosophies. I actually have a philosophy that you shouldn't apply for jobs. But that's okay. There's other philosophies out there. I don't have the only philosophy, and neither do I have the only religion in town. Okay, so
let me say this.
okay.
I do agree with you to a certain extent, but you have to do multiple things. Like when you want to catch a fish, right? You gotta fish in different ponds to catch that fish. So I don't think there's one right way or one wrong way to do something, but I think you have to do multiple things.
I agree there with you. And I'll tell you this. I always tell people, test my hypothesis. I am not the sage on the stage. I think I like to be proven wrong, right? Because things evolve and change. Like what I thought worked yesterday might not work today or tomorrow. So, you always have to test. But we're going to go dive into a little bit of why you need to be here. Alfonso, do you mind if I share your high level statistics, and then we're going to dive into? Is that okay if I share that, Alfonso?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So Alfonso has in 30 days has landed 12 interviews, and we're going to dive into a little bit about those numbers. Most people that come to me and they say, Bez, I'm not getting interviews. And so my first question to them, and I have a lot of questions, but one of the basic questions is, how many hours a day are you allotting for your job search? Now, Alfonso said, hey, get in there 8 o'clock, take your lunch, get out at 4. He's having that's a full day for him, right?
I have nothing to do.
Huh?
I don't have nothing else to do.
Well, but I will tell you, a lot of people that I run into don't have the mettle to actually do a full day. A lot of people tell me, well, I can do 2 hours. So I look at them and I say, well, you're going to get part-time results, right? And especially, let's say you're an executive, you're making above 6 figures, you're a senior leader. It is not abnormal for a job search at your level to take 6 to 12 months, sometimes if not even longer. I tell people, if you're making over 6 figures, you could be in for a long haul of it taking 12 months. However, you can short circuit that, but you have to be committed and you have to put in the work. It's a grind. It's a grind, and it will take a toll on you. It will take a toll on you on your mental health, and your mental health affects your physical health, but you have to be committed to the process. So, Alfonso, let's start at the top. Tell us a little bit why you're in, what's going on in your situation, and then break down, how did those feelings, what came, when explain to us the situation, what were those feelings, and what did you decide to do? And then tell us a little bit about what was the first thing you did as you approach this. Let's give somebody a bird's eye view, the situation, and what's the first thing you decided to do, because you had to do something or approach it somehow. So take it away, my friend, then we'll ask some more questions.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. My previous opportunity that I had, I went through a restructure within HR. And so my position was eliminated along with another position on my team that reported up to my manager that reports up to me. And so, it was devastating. You're never ready for anything like that, right? And so, when that situation hit, I had to take, at least a good week to kind of reflect and deal with those emotions that come along with a loss, right? Because we're so used to being connected to something, right? I was getting up every day, going to the corporate office, getting in at 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning, getting out at 5, or whatever the case may be. You develop that routine. And now that routine does not exist. And so now I'm going to build a new routine. What does that look like? What is my next opportunity going to look like? Where's it going to come from? There's things in life that you can't control, and there's things that you can't control, right? But the one thing I can control is how I handle the situation of a loss like that. First emotions. You go through your rare of emotions, right? Your stages of emotions, I'm trying to say. And so you have to let that play out, and you have to deal with that. I was upset. I was mad. I was sad. You deal with so much, but once that surpassed, I had to start looking at it from the standpoint. Okay, what can I control? Well, I can control what time I get up. I can control my attitude as far as searching for a job. I can control treating my days like I'm in the office at work as far as looking for a job. I'm looking for my next opportunity. What works for me is, like I said, I get up, I put my khakis on, I put my polo on, and even put cologne on and stuff, brush my teeth, wash my face, and I'm sitting behind my computer researching opportunities that I like, companies that I want to work for, maybe a different industry I want to work for, and I'll start researching those particular companies and opportunities, and then I try to find the decision maker. And then, I apply for the job. And once I apply for the job, I also have a platform that I use to find who the hiring manager is and their contact details. And then I start reaching out with a soft touch, introducing myself, letting them know, hey, I applied for the job. I'm in the market. These are some of my highlights, statistics of what I've done and accomplishments. Hopefully they'll bite on that. And I've had some success with that, and my mindset is like, okay, I do that. I get a contact, or they contact me. Step one, okay, that's good. They contact me, they responded, right? And then I'll have a follow up email. Love to grab coffee with you, kind of learn more about the opportunity, a little bit about the business, and then they respond with a date, a time, and then now I got them on the hook, and then I'm having conversations with them. And those conversations typically, they're soft touch conversations, but they end up, talking about my background, my experience, and what value I can add to the organization. And I always try to add something different than what the other candidates may not be adding, or they have a part of their skill set or whatever. And so I try to dive off into that to kind of hook them. Um, so it's so once I do that, right, and then I have something on the calendar with an appointment. Now my mindset is, how many appointments can I make in a week? How many it's really like wash, rinse, and repeat those same efforts. And how many interviews or conversations I can have with a decision maker in a week's time. And the next thing you're building up your calendar. And I always try to spread them out. Like I interview on a Monday, a Wednesday, a Friday, or whatever, or two on Monday, or two on Wednesday. And I always try to give myself a little gap in between, so I can have time to research the companies that I'm talking with. And so I try to use that mindset, those steps, in order to land opportunities or even start the conversations. Uh, in my position, I was a senior director of talent and HR, so I kind of know some of the tricks of the trades, right? And so I try to make sure I reach out to chief HR officers, head of departments, not necessarily managers or recruiters. And recruiters, they play a pivotal part in the hiring process, but sometimes that leader knows what they're looking for. And if I can get my resume in front of that leader, then that leader's like, oh, wait a minute now, this has come to me, out of the sky into my email box. Let me look at this resume, and they may see something that they like on there. And so that's my approach. That's my mindset. That's how I kind of tackle the situation. But kind of taking a step back for a second. It's all about dealing with the loss of an opportunity, and then once you deal with that, now it's time to take control of it. How can I take control of my situation and make sure I always have a positive mindset? Now, do I get in the dump sometimes? Do I have my days? Yeah, I have my days because I'm human, right? But I try to get small wins out of the efforts and the seeds that I'm planting, and seeing those seeds kind of blossom a little bit with interviews and touch bases and 15-minute coffee sessions with maybe a hiring leader. So yeah, that's my approach. That's my thoughts.
Well, I wrote some things down because I want to go back and touch base on them. So I love what you said. There's so many gems in that, folks. So let's dig into a little bit. So what I love is that you took a moment to deal with the emotions. You said it took about a week. It hit you hard. Could you tell us, there's some extra stressors in your life right now? There was two things. Could you tell us, because you didn't even share that, but what are some two stressors coming in hot and hard as your position was eliminated?
Yeah. No, I'm getting married next week. So, the stresses of, going into a marriage and finding yourself in a situation like this, it doesn't feel good, right? But I have a supportive fiance, soon to be wife. So, she has my back, and that's what counts, right? And bought a home. Been in my home 5 months, and so now I got a mortgage payment, to pay. But those things are there, right? And I try to put them in a department in my head, but really focus on the mission at hand, and that mission is employment, and not just finding a job, right? It has to be the right fit for me. It has to be, the right culture. The impact of the organization, what they're doing from a public standpoint has to be there for me. It has to be something meaningful. I can always get a job. That's not hard just to get a job. but you want to make sure you have the right career and you're working with good people. Because at this stage in my life, and this time in my life, it's all about, team. What type of team am I walking into? Or what does leadership look like? What type of leadership style does the executive leadership team have above me? That may fit my style. What can I bring to the table? What legacy can I leave? Because I'm an out of the box thinker. I'm very creative in my craft. I think I do things different than most people that might have my title, in my space. And so, to have a company understand that and the value of that, how that can impact the organization, is key for me right now.
Okay. So I'm definitely going to talk about that right fit because that's important. That's why I'll tell people that are senior in leadership or like yourself. It may take a while. It is not because there's not jobs out there. Is that at a certain point in your life, you're not 22. You won't jump when someone says jump. Because physically you can't, but also because there's better ways to do it, right? And you've been around the block, so it's got to be the right fit, and that's why, folks, when you're up there above six figures and you're looking for the right thing, it may take some time. So I'm glad you mentioned that because anybody can get a job,
Yeah.
And there's different types of jobs. There's even some that are called survival jobs that will never see the light of day on a resume, right? Because sometimes you got to do what you got to do. But I love that you talk about the emotions. You had some stressors.
Mhm.
You recently bought a house. 5 months in, boom, got laid off. Also, you're getting married next week. Those are some high stressors, my friends. If you're listening to this or you're watching this, you know, Alfonso has 3 stressors right now. You only typically want to go through one stressor at a time, but lose a job is a big time stressor. Buying a home is a big time stressor. Getting married is a big time stressor. Okay. So I love that you're being honest. You said, hey, there are days when I'm grinding out there that, hey, it's not, it's tough. You get down a little bit, right? But you're staying resilient. You're keeping positive and you're pushing through. I also like that you have a routine. Like
Mhm.
you lost your job, but you didn't change your routine. And I think that's extremely important to people out there that if they were used to going into the office, well, don't stop doing everything except go to the office. Now your office is walking across the hallway, sitting at, but take a shower, put on your khaki, whatever was normal for you. Maybe you don't have to dress so nice. You can be a little bit more comfortable, but do everything else. Put on that cologne or that perfume, do your hair, shave, walk in because you never know. Someone say, hey, can you interview in 15 minutes? You don't want to say, oh, stop, let me go take a shower. No, you have not changed your routine. And that, folks, serves Alfonso better because you know why? Because he's not changing anything. Another change. I mean, my brother has 3 stressors. And now changing his whole routine is not going to be good. He keeps the same routine. There's familiarity of waking up at a certain time, putting on the khakis, putting on a polo, walking to in his office, opening up his computer. That's similar to what he did when he went to work. So folks, get into a routine. Okay. So the other thing is that I like that you talked about reaching out directly to the hiring leader. Now I'm a recruiter. Both Alfonso and I have led recruiting teams, trained, built recruiting teams. We're in the talent space right now. I'm a third party on the outside as a executive search partner, and folks, just what Alfonso said. He's reaching out to the chief HR officer, CHRO. Why? Because they know what they want. No disrespect to recruiters, because I'm a recruiter.
Right.
Right. And they play a pivotal role. Absolutely. But whenever you're on your job hunt, go look for that leader that you would report to. And if it's a CEO, another SVP, a VP, or a chief HR officer, reach out to them. They're people.
And
They're
Bez, Bez, you know what I say? You know why I say, and I know you agree with me in regards to reaching out to the leader. It's because of this right here. This is one of the biggest reasons. Sometimes recruiters, they're wired to look at the job description and look at the resume to see if it just matches 1000%, right? That hiring leader can look at the resume, and then recruiters too. Not all recruiters. I mean, I don't want to put everybody in a blanket, under an umbrella, but that hiring leader can look at that resume and see transferable skills, you know, from that resume, and see certain values off that resume that may pop and say, hey, you know what? That leader might be looking at that position for today, but in his mind, he might be thinking about something in the midst of that position for the future that can turn the tide of the organization in a certain manner. So you may bring a certain skill set that the recruiter's not even paying attention to, that the leader may have in mind for something bigger down the road for the position.
So you just walked in, because I know you and I were talking before this, you recently walked into a situation, but what did the leader say that you didn't know, but because you walked into the situation and you inserted yourself, what did they tell you?
Yeah, so what that was, it was an opportunity that that I was approached on, and it was a step down from my title, right? But what was not known to me was they had a much higher position with the search firm, and so the hiring manager was talking to me about that particular position, not the position that they were really calling me on, but the other position. And so, we had a robust conversation, rich conversation in regards to both opportunities. And so, we're discussing what that may look like. But I would have known if I wasn't talking to the decision maker.
Right.
I would have known that.
100%, because those are, many times for leadership positions, companies put that out to search. They may post it, but if they post it, it's already filled. It's too late. Now, not all the time, but I'll tell you this: there's many reasons why they won't directly go source or do their own. There's a myriad of reasons, and sometimes they do it. So I'm not saying that they always put it out to search, but here Alfonso is he made the decision to talk directly to the leader he would report to. And unbeknownst to him, they say, hey, we got this other position. It's a much higher level, exactly where you're at, but we put it out to search. Do you mind we forward your information over to them, right? Because, hey, they've engaged a search firm. The search firm has a lock on the position, but they can forward your resume and your information over to the search firm. And that's what a lot of companies do. But the only way you're going to do that if you're in the mix, talking to people, you're talking to the leader. And so I want to, because we're talking about, I want you shared some things, some tools you're using. So I'm sure you're using LinkedIn to identify who that leader is, but you said you're getting some additional, you're using, you sort of alluded, because I know, because you told me a long time ago, there's a certain tool you use to get the contact information of that leader. So could you share some of your secret sauce? Because I think the people want to know.
Yeah. No. You got to pay me for that. No. Now the platform that I use, and there's many platforms that's out there, right? But the platform I use is called Rocket Reach. I pay a monthly subscription for Rocket Reach, and then that allows me to get the contact details of that hiring leader. Basically, I just cut and paste that leader's LinkedIn URL into the system, and then I hit submit, and it gives me those contact details. And then I can just construct an email introducing myself along with my resume, letting them know, hey, I applied for the opportunity. Love to have a conversation. If they have time, 15 minutes, I want to talk about my skill set and what value add I can add to the organization. And see, that's always key, right? Leaders and companies, they get resumes all the time, but what value do you bring to that organization, right? And then let me take a step back even from that. LinkedIn is a platform that I've been on for many, many years. Got over 27,000 followers on it. And so what I try to do, number one, I like doing it because it's fun for me, right? But I like branding. I like branding myself in a level where, during the interview process, right? You're your biggest champion. That's your opportunity to brag. Well, I use LinkedIn as an opportunity to kind of brand and brag on myself as well and what I bring to the table. And so it's not just a platform just to look at your careers and the places that you've been, but what else have you done that can impact an organization? And some of the things as far as tricks of the trades that I typically do is I pay attention to leaders' posts. It may be a chief HR officer that posts something, I make a comment. Then I connect with them. Then I try to continue those conversations. And nothing might not even come out of that, right? But something may come out of it later on. They may reach out to me and say, "Hey, I remember we had a conversation 3 weeks ago. I have an opportunity." I've had people circle back to me in regards to that. And so I try to stay active, even from the standpoint of writing articles. Anybody can write an article, and write an article about your industry, write an article about your experience, and have questions that you can add. Maybe you can ask your LinkedIn followers or people that are connected to you or people that are not connected with you to kind of get them engaged in conversation. And so I try to take time to do that as well. My routine is not always 8 to 5, just straight sourcing. Sometimes it's 8 to 2 o'clock, and then I create an article and then I post it, or I post a question, a thought question, or a poll or something like that. I comment on other people's stuff. I follow individuals and companies that I may be interested in. You'll see things pop up from there. But sorry, I know I went out on a tangent.
No, I love it.
But yeah, you got to stay active, right? You got to stay active. You got to stay sharp. Watch videos, talent videos, leadership videos, read leadership books, articles, I should say, just to kind of keep my mind sharp and keep active in my arena. Because, and the one thing that, from a positive standpoint, you got to sit back and think to yourself, you're not going to stay in this predicament, right? This is just a there's an illusion.
No, I'm trying to get you the stage.
Oh.
Keep going.
Yeah, this is just a moment in time. You have to understand it's just a moment in time, and so this time will pass. But while you're in this moment, while you're in this between blessings, what I like to say is you gotta stay positive and stay active and continue to move forward. And right, not every day is going to be a good day, but I truly believe there's good in every day, and it's all about how you show up. It's no different than when I show up as a leader for my team. A situation like this will show your true character. It'll show your mettle. It's tough, and I'm not the only person going through it. I see it. A lot of people are going through it. There's people that have been unemployed for 6 months. My sister-in-law, my soon-to-be sister-in-law, she was unemployed for a whole year. She just got a job offer last week.
Wow.
Yeah, I celebrated like I got the job. So I'm so excited for her. I'm so happy. And that's another thing. It's okay to be happy for somebody else receiving a blessing, because what that shows me is that if that can happen to that person, that can happen to me, And so it's always that positive mindset that you have to have, but you got to put the work in. You got to put the work in. You got to be committed. You got to be diligent. Yeah, you might work looking for a job as your job Monday through Thursday. You take your Friday off or what have you. Divide it up, slice it up, but you got to stay active. You got to, and you have to work with intent. You got to be very intentional, in your approach.
So there's a couple things. I like that you're being strategic, that you're following people of companies, leaders of companies that you might want to work at, because what you're very thoughtful and you're being strategic in who you're engaging with, right? It makes sense so that you can start seeing their posts and start engaging. What Alfonso is doing is he's raising his visibility, right? And he's raising his visibility in all the right places, right? He's not, conversing with, someone that is doing underwater basket weaving. I mean, no shade or hate to them, right?
Who did that?
Yeah, but well, and I say that facetiously because sometimes we get shiny, squirrel. We we look at things and then we go down a rabbit hole and it doesn't serve us, right? You're focused, you're there, and you're very strategic on what you do. Now, I like that you sometimes do the post, and because you put some thought into that, and that raises your visibility because you're talking about your industry, what you do. And folks, with this new algorithm that I know they're saying that 360 rule is not in, like people said, but no matter what, they have improved their algorithm. The new algorithm scans your profile, and you better be in line with what you say you are and talk about who you are in your expertise. Don't talk about underwater basket weaving if you're talent acquisition leader. No, because that won't serve you and you'll confuse the algorithm because it's scanning and it's really getting into the semantics. So it does look at the context, right? So you're being very strategic and very thoughtful who you're reaching out to. So I love what you're doing in that. I also like that you practice gratitude. Someone else gets a job offer, you're happy for them, right? That is an act of gratitude. Practice that. Wake up every day and tell yourself, what am I grateful for? Those little things shift your mindset. And a lot of what I've noticed Alfonso's been talking about, shift his mindset, right? Because it is hard. It's a grind. Your soon-to-be sister-in-law took a year. Hey, folks, that can happen. Now, we're going to dive into in a moment here what has Alfonso done that's amazing and short-circuited his process. Because remember, it's not abnormal if you're making above six figures for the process to take longer or a year or longer. And sometimes it can happen sooner. I don't ever make any claims of what it might take, but I'll tell people this is when you're making more money and you're looking for the right fit, you may roll the dice and get lucky, but more than not, you're going to have to kiss a lot of frogs. Mm-hmm. Okay. The other thing that stood out too is you just that I'm going to say something about what you're doing in raising your visibility and doing that post. There's a story I like to share. Someone I know came into my one of my cohorts and shared a story that I wanted them to share. They were someone that I had given some career advice, and they said, look, they started to do a post. They're a CMO, a chief marketing officer. And so worldwide traveler, been in Europe, was back here in their homeland, the United States, and was, looking for their next opportunity and decided to go fractional. And fractional is not part-time. Fractional is allocation of your time and as a resource, and it's very specific and it's highly compensated, right? And you can stack multiple fractional opportunities because you're allocating time. So she hung up her shingle. She put, her consultancy as a LinkedIn page, and then she had her personal profile. Twice a week, one day on a certain day, she released a post from her personal profile. Mm-hmm. On another day in the week, she did an article from her consultancy LinkedIn company page, whatever I'm just saying that in 5 different ways. But so she had 2 posts a week. She, unbeknownst to her, there was somebody watching her every post, and they reached out to her, and she knew him. She had gone to school with him K through 12. And then they both went to different universities, lost touch, and now he was a CEO of a company. And what he told her was, hey, every time you release a post, I go print it up and I take it to my executive team and we talk about your post. I'm like, what? You print it up? I mean, you don't share it on the iPad or something? Like it was old school, print it up and let's pass it around, make some photocopies. What's a photocopy? Well, there's a thing called this photocopier. And he was printing it up, and I was, at the executive roundtable was talking about this was twice a week, or maybe they talked once a week on those both articles, because it was very thoughtful, very high value post. Okay. I'm gonna tell you something. She got they brought her in to do some work, like a fractional opportunity. So gave her a project. When she came to spoke to my cohort of other executives, she said that she hasn't finished the first project yet and was already given 2 additional projects. And she goes, hey, this thing could turn into a full-time position. If not, hey, I'm still good, right? I've got 3 projects lined up. I got a lot of work to do, okay? But here's the kicker. Not once did this friend ever engage on any of her posts. Let that sink in. You may not get that vanity metric, but people are still looking, reading, and you'll never know they engage on your post. But Alfonso is here every week releasing something, okay? He may not know that there is somebody watching him, and he eventually will get a call, because that stuff happens. The vanity metrics don't matter on LinkedIn. What matters is the transformation and moving the needle. And by Alfonso, if you look at his LinkedIn profile, just look up Alfonso Stapler, you're going to see him. He puts out some really good talent articles. And they're very, and I bet there's somebody out there that hasn't even engaged on your stuff, but they're watching you, Alfonso, and you never know.
Right about that. One of the things, even from, it's funny because I always look at things, I always try to look at things from a positive point of view. I've always thought about putting articles together, but so busy, didn't have enough time. And now, I put articles out there because I want somebody to learn from these articles, right? And or have a thought about the article, and even engage me in conversation, or even maybe having an opposing thought in regards to what I put out, so we have a discussion. Because hey, I don't know everything, I'm here to learn as well. But it's never like I never had that mindset. Let me put this article out, somebody me. That's not the thought process. You always have to be genuine with it, right? And so the articles that I put out, of course, it's always in the talent space. I'm gonna create another article the next week or 2 about the green ring, the LinkedIn ring, and should you advertise that, or should you not advertise that? Some of the myths we talk, some of the myths behind that, but no, it's always exciting. But you got to be engaging. You have to, to your the example that you made as far as that young lady, not knowing that somebody's watching. Somebody's watching in the wings as far as your activity, and never in a million years she ever thought that someone was going to be printing up her stuff and they're going to be discussing it in a meeting, and then they reach out to her and bring her in. You just never know where the blessing's going to come from, right? So it's always about being active and being positive. And I'm sure she put a lot of good energy out there, and I'm a big believer with good energy is going to return. And so, man, that's awesome, man. She should write a book or something. Or even
I want to share that story because keep on, Alfonso, right? It's like you have some time now, but you're intentional. I'm going to stop at 2 today. I'm going to put together a really good article. I'm going to release it and put it out in the wind. And you never know. I mean, hey, today you're on this live stream. You never know, somebody's watching and say, hey, man, I need someone like Alfonso. I'll reach out to him,
Hey, think about this. Never thought I was going to be in a live stream. You know what I'm saying? No, never thought that. But when you're in a position where you're unemployed, and I'm not necessarily just talking about me per se, but it can be anybody in it that find themselves in a situation like this, right? And again, you got to find ways, stay busy, stay positive, and you have to find ways how can I make myself different from just your average candidate, right? Back in the day when I was in sales, because before I got into recruitment, I was in sales, right? And so I remember this one particular company that I wanted to work for. And so I was like, man, how can I get their attention? Right. And so me and my girlfriend at the time, we were walking in the mall. And in the mall, they have those little kiosks where they sell those cookies and stuff, desserts. And so I would always get oatmeal cookie and macadamia nut cookies and stuff like that. And then I remember seeing this big old cookie cake. And I was like, man, I should buy a cookie cake. And then I was like, wait a minute. I got an idea, and I promise you, I bought the cookie cake. Well, hold on, let me back up. I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm getting over my skis, right? On the cookie cake, I told the customer service person, I said, can you please, on the cookie cake, it was chocolate chip, can you write Alfonso Stapler, my phone number, and your next top salesperson on the cookie cake? And so they did that, paid for it, put it in the box, put my resume on top of it, delivered it to a particular company that I want to work for, gave the receptionist $5. I said, hey, here's $5. This is for, buy yourself some lunch or something. I said, but can you please do me a favor? Can you just please give this to the hiring leader? And she was like, sure, which I was excited about because she said yes, right? So you always got to get past that gatekeeper, right? And so she gave it to the hiring leader, Bez. Within 24 hours, my phone was ringing. It was a hiring manager. Is this Alfonso? I said, yes, it is. Alfonso, you dropped off a cookie cake? I said, yes, I did. He says, you know what? If you're willing to drop off a cookie cake and put forth this type of effort, I need to interview you. I need to bring you in and interview you. And so, we set up some time. I came in, I talked to him, talked to his boss, talked to his boss's boss, ended up getting the job. Because I wasn't afraid to think outside the box. I'm not afraid to ever put myself in uncomfortable situations, to get what I need. And so even when there's times when you're in those uncomfortable situations, you can always learn. You learn about the situation, you learn about yourself when you're in uncomfortable situations, right? And so whenever that time comes again, you're not so nervous about the situations that you may be in. And the uncomfortable piece is, taking the cookie cake up there and doing all that stuff. I didn't want them to think I was some crazy dude or anything like that, but it worked out. So sometimes you got to think outside the cookie.
I love it. I think sometimes I love how you think outside the box, right? And that's why you're one of the talent leaders in this, and you're actually award-winning talent leader. You've won 2 back-to-back. Just recently, before you got laid off, you won another industry award, the same one, 2 years back-to-back. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So 2025 and 2026, I won one of the top talent professionals in my arena, and I was really proud about that. Who's not happy and proud to get an award, right? But it really had a lot to do with the team that I cultivated and I put together. Because without them, you're just as good as your team, right? And so for them to allow me to lead them and do great things at that organization, or even the organizations that I've been part of in the past, it's really a blessing, right? I'm a type of leader where my how they always say my door's always open. My door's always open. I like to have conversations without titles. Yes, I was a senior director. Yes, I was in leadership. Yes, I have some type of status, if you want to call it, right? But it's so important to me as a leader to make sure whoever I'm working with are very comfortable having conversations. And that's why I always say, let's have conversations without titles. Like, if you can imagine sitting around a desk or you have a team meeting around a desk, and you have a leader talking. If you can only see some of the bubble text, people's thoughts, you know, and they don't say those thoughts. I'm the type of leader where I want to hear those thoughts. I want to hear what you have to say. It means something to me. I'm not the end all be all. I don't know everything. That's why it's a team, you know. And you always know who played team sports, right? Growing up, and I've always been a team guy. Always valued people's opinion. Uh, and the thing about it is, a decision may have to be made, right? And it might not be the most popular decision, but sometimes you have to make those decisions. But I just want you to know that I value your opinion, and I heard what you said. And hey, if something doesn't work and I'm messed up on something, hey, I'm quick to say, I apologize. We should have went with that. And sometimes as a leader, your team can lead you. At times. Right? But yeah, getting back to the award stuff. Yeah, it was nice. It was nice to receive something like that. And again, that has a lot to do with the team.
Well, I mean, I love your energy. Something you mentioned about sometimes it can be tough. So I want to share with something, and then we're going to dive into quickly. What are you doing that's getting you interviews? Because you've gotten 12 interviews within 30 days, and I want you to share with the audience what is your secret sauce. So hang on a second. But before that, earlier Alfonso mentioned that it can be tough sometimes in the career search and when you're looking for your next opportunity. So I want to share with you that I decided to open up a free room. It's a career support group. I'm calling it the Executive Leader Career Mastermind, and it's a complimentary room. It's right now. I've been all over the each week on a different day and time, but I've nailed down. I think it's going to be Mondays from here on out to the end of the year, till middle December, Mondays at 12 p.m. Eastern time. So I want you to, if you're, and it's a room where it's a safe space, positive, uplifting. We hold each other accountable. We share our goals. We share our frustrations, but we keep it positive, and we share leads with each other, share tips with each other, right? But it's a very positive, uplifting room. So I'm going to share the link. It's going to be scrolling in the bottom. So feel free to register. We've got one coming up on this Monday, the 20th at 12 p.m. Just pop in, brown bag it. It's during your lunch hour if you're on the Eastern Standard Time, and let's look, come in on a weekly basis. Remember, you don't have to search alone, right? And you can come into a positive, supportive space. So do pop in, and we're going to go back to what Alfonso is talking about, and that is, so while he's, let me do this. I'm going to put a little banner here, and I'm going to let it scroll, and that is for anybody that wants to register to what I just showed you, the executive leader career mastermind, whatever it's called. I always get the name mixed up, even though I made the name. And just there it is. I'm just gonna have it scrolling low key. You want to sign up? It's there. Join us. Don't want to join us? That's fine, right? But it's there and it's complimentary. And I'm gonna make sure it's safe and it's confidential, and that leaders can come in there. And if you're an emerging leader, hey, be that fly on the wall, learn or give some perspective, as an up and coming leader. Come share. But Alfonso, you have gotten 12 interviews in 30 days. So give me the numbers, reverse engineer. You've got 12 interviews. What happened to those? Give us the numbers we know right now. And I want people to be in awe of, he got 12 interviews and what came out of those and the ratios he's dealing with. And I'll tell you what that means, because I've seen ratios. I know what they are, and his are very good. So go ahead, share some numbers with us.
Yeah, no, I wish I would have had the exact numbers off the bat, as far as number of applications, touch points, and stuff like that. But and something that I mentioned earlier that would help me with getting the 12 interviews is really something simple, right? and that is researching companies that I'm interested in, right? Finding out who the leader is, reaching out to that leader with a soft touch email, introducing myself and the value add that I can have to that organization, and trying to set up maybe a 15-minute, contact conversation with said leader. And so it's a numbers game. It's no different in sales. When I was in sales, I'd have to knock on 50 doors to get 3 yeses. And so it's the same type of approach when I'm dealing with trying to find my next opportunities. Next opportunity, I've had opportunities where hey man, everything seemed right, but the culture of the organization might not necessarily be the right fit for me, because right now in the stage in my life is all about fit. And so again, very diligent with starting my days at 8:30 on the computer, off about 4 o'clock, maybe taking a Friday off. But every day I wash, rinse, and repeat. I do the same thing. I'm looking at opportunities. I'm connecting with people via LinkedIn. I'm having conversations with them via LinkedIn. I'm commenting on posts, on leadership posts within LinkedIn. Using my network, calling my network, just letting them know, hey, this is what happened to me. This is the situation that I'm in. And I know sometimes we can feel a certain way when we have to tell somebody that you lost your job. You know what? I'm not the only person that's lost a job before. I'm not the only person out there. It happens to the best of us, right? For whatever reason. Sometimes we just can't control that type of stuff. But what I can control is the efforts and the attitude that I have day to day when I'm dealing with trying to find an opportunity. And so that starts from researching the job, finding out who the hiring leader is, making a contact, using some tools that I have like Rocket Search or Rocket Reach in regards to finding out that contact details. And so I'm very diligent every single day doing that. Back in the day when I was in sales, I would over the phone, I would keep a mirror up by my desk. And so I would always practice smiling and dialing. And that's what I do. And I know I'm not in sales. I look at what I do in TA recruitment as a cousin of sales, but I'm always controlling my attitude and the energy that I put out there, right? It might not be, I might talk to you, Bez, as an example today, but the next couple of weeks, 3 weeks, you might have something to roll your way. You may think about me. I've had that happen. I've had people text me, hey, call me. Hey, such and such is hiring. Hey, this is about to open up, whatever the case may be. Now, yes, I have 12 interviews and I'm going through stages of process of interviews and stuff like that. I haven't closed the door just yet on something, because you got to go through the process. You got to respect the process, understand the process. But the biggest thing is this right here. Let me let you in on a little secret. Don't tell nobody, okay? You have to be patient. You have to be patient. You have to be patient. Be patient and trust the process. That's all. That's all. That's really you have to be patient. You have to trust the process. Do I get impatient? Yes, I'm human. I get impatient because sometimes I get so excited about an opportunity. I'm like, come on, y'all, let's get these interviews out the way so we can, get this offer on the table so we can, start doing great things together. But it's a process, You gotta be positive, and don't ever forget to ask for the opportunity after you interview. Don't feel ashamed or bad to brag on yourself in the interview. It's you don't be cocky now, but just brag on your accomplishments. Talk about some of the things you've done, what your team has done, and talk about some things that you've learned from some mistakes, right? Because not everything is going to always be sunshine and rainbows. You're going to make mistakes. And I always like to have those questions. Tell me about a mistake that you made, that you've made. And I always still kind of smile, and I'm like, man, I made this mistake, but this is how I learned from it. Anytime you're in your leadership journey, or just any type of journey in particular, you're going to have pitfalls, right? But what are you doing with those pitfalls? What are you doing about those hiccups? What are you doing about those speed bumps in the road? Are you letting that defeat you? Or are you looking at it as like a learning opportunity? The best lessons in life that I've ever learned It's when I mess up, and I learn from it, and I learn from other people's mess ups too. And you know what? What's so cool is when I'm talking to my teams and then my teams in the past, I've always talked to them about my mishaps, my mess ups. It brings everything down. It makes you human, right? Because they always see that title. Again, having conversations with that title. It's okay to be vulnerable. In a situation like this, we're all vulnerable. Hey, Bez, it may be you tomorrow. Hey, it may be Susie Q tomorrow. Hey, it might be Jim tomorrow. You just never know. You just never know when your time may come. But it's okay. Trust the process.
Yeah, I love that you're talking about trust the process, being patient. Because right before this call, folks, Alfonso was lamenting that he hadn't gotten an offer yet, and I said, "Well, whoa, hold the phone, Alfonso." Right before this call, man, he was impatient. I said, let's talk about what's happened in the last 3 weeks. Oh, it's been 4 weeks. Okay, what's happened in the 4 weeks? Let's reflect. How many interviews you got? 12. Wow. 12 interviews. I have people coming to me saying they're struggling to get interviews, and you got 12 in 30 days?
Because I'm excited.
Wow.
Yeah, because I'm excited. I'm ready to go. But I gotta trust the process.
Right. And so I said, let's reflect on that. 12 interviews in 30 days. We got to go live. Like this wasn't a planned live. Alfonso was like, oh, so we're going to record and we're going to, no, we're going to go, no safety net. We're just going to go out there and have a conversation. Right. Alfonso, you talk about conversation. Well, let's go have one. We're just going to have it in public. Okay. And so Alfonso, when we started to look, 12 interviews. Well, and then I said, well, break it down for me. 12 interviews is a lot. That's noteworthy. How many of those went on to the next stage? So, Alfonso, how many went on to the next stage?
Yeah,
out of 12.
Yeah, out of that 12, like at least 70% went on to the next phase. You find yourself in certain situations where you have the interview, the first round, and you have the second round, and then they select who they want to select as far as a top 2 or top 3 or whatever. But it's all about momentum, and it's all about stacking on top of each other. You got to keep stacking them. You win some, you lose some. Right?
So you're saying that 70% of them went on to the next stage?
Yeah, next stage.
Oh, okay. So folks, 70%, Alfonso, you need to go play the lotto, because that's a good ratio. That's a good ratio.
Where's my numbers?
Yeah, because let's say I look when I got into headhunting in the early 90s, I quickly found out it was really a sales job. Like I went and got sales training. My office provided sales training. I invested in my own self with sales training because, I believe in I think to recruiting it, like depending whether even if you're internal, because I've done third party, I've done internal. And, I try to bring my bell into corporate America. They're like looking at me and like, yeah, we're going to celebrate. Everybody stop. I'll shake my hand. But
Yeah.
Even in corporate America, you are selling. You're selling the opportunity. You're selling. You're influencing. And I know people say I don't want to be salesy, but look, you may call yourself an influencer. That's selling. Okay.
Yeah.
You've convinced someone to go to your lunch spot, and they pick yours. Well, you sold them. Do you have a significant other, girlfriend, boyfriend, husband, wife? You really sold them, right? I mean, we're all selling, and we don't think we are, and then yet we bash. I don't want to be salesy. Well, Alfonso is here, like he's asking for the job. Well, I mean, that's part of the process. Ask for the job. Go. You don't ask, you don't get.
You don't get. What's the saying? Closed mouth don't get fed.
Yeah, closed mouths don't get fed. So it may feel uncomfortable to a lot of people. I get it. It's not every day you have to engage in a job search. And I will tell you this. Here's the truth, Alfonso. People who interviewees, they're horrible at interviews. Why? Because they don't practice interviewing every day.
No.
You know what they're good at? They're good at their job, their trade. Why? Because they put in the reps. They're really good at their job, right? Because they do it every day, day in and day out. But what you don't do is do practice interviews every day when you have a job, right? So inherently, you're going to suck at interviewing. Okay, that's a fact. Okay, now let me tell you who else sucks.
I wouldn't say suck.
Well, hey, I've heard too many stories to say that hiring leaders are really good at interviewing. No, they're not. Okay, some are. Now, here's the ones that are really good at interviewing. The ones that interview a lot, like they may be a leader of one of those jobs that what we call perpetual openings, like a customer service agent or a call center rep, right? Inherently, that's a stepping stone opportunity. So they're always interviewing. So they do get good at interviewing, right? But let's say you don't have a lot of turnover in your team, and once in a blue moon you have to interview. I've had hiring managers like in 10 minutes the interview's over because they didn't say a lot, right? So the candidate has to carry the interview sometimes. So I will tell you that I've heard stories of the type of questions being asked. It horrifies me. But I'll tell you this. That's because a hiring leader doesn't wake up every day and says, let me practice interview. No, they're leading a team. They're trying to move the needle, right? They're trying to get the business of the business done, right? And so that's okay. We get millions of hires, even though when we put these two entities together, two people that are horrible doing at the task we're asking them to do, that we should expect a train wreck, that we get millions of hires every year, right? Somehow we get through, even though we're not good at what we're asked to do, right? So it works. Somehow it happens through all our warts and mistakes. So, but I love that you're here putting in the reps. You're having a great attitude. Okay, so you have 12 interviews. 70% of them got to second stages. That's amazing statistic, right? And now Alfonso is faced with being the air traffic controller, right? Now he's got 70% of these are in second stages, and now he needs to move them along. And because at a certain point, you are managing the process and communicating with where you're interviewing at. And that is a skill set. You have to now stop and coordinate, all right? And you have to communicate with all opportunities and move them along. Say, hey, go to all of them. I expect an offer in the next 2 weeks. Just want to let you know what is the next step in the process. I'm very interested in your opportunity. I would hate to not move it along expeditiously and judiciously and be fair to everybody I'm talking to, right? And that's a responsible, Alfonso is a leader, an executive. The people he's interviewing with expect him to be a good communicator, right? He's a leader. Great leaders communicate. They're not going to be like interviewing and all of a sudden, oh, I'm sorry, I'm off the market. No, that should not be a surprise to the people you're interviewing with, because you are communicating with all of them. You're playing air traffic controller. You're coordinating the movement now from second stages to the next stage, right? Which will probably be the final stage as a leader. And, because what you want to do is that maybe you're looking at multiple offers at the same time, and you're making a decision in a timely manner with all of them and the best ones for you. And that the people that are in those final stages, they know they're in the final stages, and you're considering them and maybe 2 others. Be honest with them. Hey, now you have different conversations as you go back, and you can negotiate. Everything is negotiable, right? You'd be surprised. Grab a spreadsheet. What is for play? You'd be surprised, right? And we're not going to go through every single one in here. But Alfonso, you're in a really, really good place. I'm super excited that I know before we went live, you were a little impatient, But now you're out there telling people, be patient, trust the process. You know what? Because you're blessed. You have a lot to be thankful. Having 12 inners, now you 70% have gone to the next stage. Now it comes crunch time, right? And then where it goes from.
I know what you just referenced, but you have to also understand the position I'm in, not from a personal standpoint, but from a business standpoint, where this is my life as far as interviewing, talent acquisition, talent attraction. And so there's certain things that I look at a little bit differently through the process that a normal person wouldn't look at. And so that's where it's like, okay, come on. There's a rhythm about TA. There's a rhythm and approach about it that should be there. And so I'm just very passionate about what I do and how I do it. And I'm expecting the other person on the other side of the phone to have that same type of passion and sense of urgency. I started off in TA from a staffing agency, so I always work with a sense of urgency. And so, I always dot my I's, cross my T's, close that loop, and keep it going to get to the finished product. So, but again, I'm on this side of the fence right now, and so that's why I say you got to respect the process and be patient. And so, yeah, just very excited about some possible opportunities.
You're bringing back some good times. I in my early days worked for General Employment. It was the worst name you could, but I did tech recruiting, right? And I had my biggest clients were some of the biggest companies in the world, and they would come into my office, and I'd put two competitors in two separate conference rooms, and we'd have a great time. And it was bold, but they both knew they were there. And you know what? They did not take long to make a decision. They would move quickly. But some of my best stories years, I still have friends from those staffing agency days, and the stories that come out, the craziness, the grit we had just to make it, right? Because you can really get lost if you're trying to be everything to everyone. You can be successful in an agency if you become very specialized, right? And that's when you get known and you can blow up, but you got to focus, right? But yeah, I started it on those days too. And like you said, smile and dial. I'll tell you a quick story. In the beginning, we had yellow pages, and they said you got to make your 100 calls every day. And so I actually wrote my 100 calls on a sheet. They called it adapt sheet, the daily action plan. And so and I had to put it in because it worked in the bullpen, and so we had to turn it in every night. And sometimes I stay late because I had to map it out. So I wasn't getting a lot of callbacks, Alfonso. So me being like you, think outside the box. I was like, how am I going to get people to call me back?
Yeah.
And voicemails were sort of the thing. The voicemail was a new technology back then. And so I would call in, and this was what I was.
Voicemail.
Yeah, you remember there was a time that voicemail was new tech, and like you could leave a voicemail, right? Instead of having a secretary write it down on a piece of paper and hand it, right? So what I did is, and now in our office we had a secretary that would funnel all the calls to us, right? And there was like 16 desks. So what happened is, and I was learning, right? So I wasn't getting callbacks, and so I decided, well, hey, let me try something. So I said, hey, my name is Bez Rengifo from General Employment. I've got good news. Call me back. Here's my number. And then all of a sudden the phones were blowing up. And I mapped out my 100 calls, and, people were calling me back the next day or 2 days later. And the secretaries, what's going on, Bez? Everyone's calling you. Your phone's blowing up. And they would call me back, and they said, Bez, you called me. All right, what's your name? I'm like, hey, what message did I leave? You said you had good news. What's the good news? And I was like, man, people must really want some good news. They're having a bad day at work. But I crazy, right? You try different things and out of the box, but I use, hey, I've got good news, and that got people to call me back. It's the funniest story I've got other funny stories, but that was a really good one. But Alfonso, um, your story is very inspiring to get 12 interviews in 30 days. And I love that you have a rhythm. You come into the office. You may not work 5 days, but you work really hard the 4 days.
Mm-hmm.
And you take the fifth day off and you have a 3 day weekend. Good on you, as my Aussie friends will say. Love it that you're giving yourself some time to enjoy the time that you you have available until the next gig comes up. And so you deserve it, brother. I want you to tell, as we sort of wind down, because we've been going on for about an hour and 10 minutes, is tell us, and we've got a few people watching, tell us what, as you think about what we've been talking today, give us some of the top things that you want to recap that you think are important that people should, from today's talk, walk away with and implement.
No, that's a good question. I would say, it all starts in the mind, and when I say it starts in the mind, it's again being positive. You have to be positive. A negative attitude is not going to breed anything positive. Understanding that every day might not be a good day, but there's good in every single day. And I'm not trying to be cliche or anything like that, but I truly believe that. And then it's at the type of work you put in is the output that you're going to receive. And so if you put forth a good days of work, because this is your new job now, find an opportunity. If you stay consistent with your cadence and trust the process, then good things will happen, right? I do have sometimes I go weeks without maybe not putting anything on the calendar. But then there's times when I start stacking it up because I planted these seeds over here a few weeks prior, and then they start coming to fruition. And so just really trust in the process, be diligent about your approach, reaching out to the hiring leaders, making those contacts, sending out your emails, uh, using Rocket Reach or Rocket Search. I forget, I get them confused sometimes, but I think it's a
Rocket Reach.
Rocket Reach as a platform, as a subscription to kind of find the contacts of those leaders. And you're in a position now, it's almost like you're in a power seat. And when I say power seat, meaning like what companies did you always want to work for? What industry did you really want to work for? What is something that kind of gets you going as far as industry wide, and start seeking out opportunity within that particular industry. Keep your notes, keep your your report sheet on people that you reach out to, follow up. And that's the key is follow up. You have to follow up. Leaders get busy. Don't email somebody late on a Friday because they're not going to respond to you. Monday, they probably won't respond to you because they're coming off the weekend. They probably got meetings and things they got to do. So Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays is pretty much a sweet spot. Understand that, and I think if you keep all those as reminders throughout your days and stuff, I think positive will come out of it. So, it's going to work. It has to work, and understanding that this is just a moment in time. I don't know how long my moment's going to be. It could be 2 months. It could be 3 months. It could be 4 months. I don't know how long my moment's going to be, but I'm not going to always be in this situation because somebody's going to recognize my talent, and I'm confident in myself, and I'm confident in my talent, and I bring a lot to the table. You got to talk yourself up sometimes. You're your biggest fan. You're your biggest cheerleader, and you know what you can do. You might whatever the job loss might have been in your situation or whatever the case may be. You remember you didn't get to this point in life not knowing what you're doing. You know what you're doing, right? And so again, just control what you can control. Stay positive, and stay active, and stay true to your process. I almost kind of liken it to, how you go to the gym sometimes, and people go to to the gym and they're sitting around taking pictures and they're looking at themselves, and then they come back home. They may do a little workout, whatever. They come back home and then they're on the phone with their friend. Oh, man, I was in the gym for 3 hours. What were you doing for those 3 hours? Alfonso, what are you doing for those 8 hours throughout the day? Are you just looking at YouTube? Are you really actively searching, looking, emailing, discovering, researching? Are you actively putting the work in? And I do. I put the work in, and the 12 interviews within a short period of time is a testimony from the work that I'm putting in. Not bragging about that because I still got to close those deals, although and little luck has something to do with it too, in regards to people making decisions and stuff. But just put your best foot forward and be happy with the results that you get out of it. But more important, just stay diligent and positive on your approach.
Love that. Love that. And so many takeaways from today's conversation, but I love that, you took that first week to let those emotions out. I mean, there is a grief process. Like a lot of people don't think when you lose a job, you're going through a grieving process, but you are. And some people say there's 5 stages of griefs. There's some philosophies that are 7 stages of grief. Whatever one you subscribe to, learn about them because you're going to go through it, right? And it comes in waves. It's not linear. Everybody's different, right? It's a loss. Okay. And I love that you took that week off. You let it, and it still may hit you here and there, but you know what? You're grinding through. I get, like, you get up, you put one leg in one pant hole, and you tie your shoes and put a little cologne on, like you said. And what kind of cologne is it?
Safari, old school Safari.
Old school Safari. Okay. Brute Fabergé,
Yeah.
but yeah. But you grind it out, and I think that is what separates people who get interviews and people who don't. Because again, I get people that say, "Well, I can do 2 hours a day." Well, you're going to get 2 hours a day results, which is not even part-time results, and that's not good. You need to put in the effort.
Think about this: the individual that says they can only do 2 hours a day. So, did they just only do 2 hours of work when they was on their job?
No.
Exactly.
But I'll tell you this: sometimes people do work full-time jobs, and they're looking. So 2 hours may be all they can do. Okay, if 2 hours is all you can do, then on your planning day, spend a good time. So when on the 2 hours you have, it's a compact 2 hours, right? But I guess I'll just say that sometimes people have the capacity to do more than 2 hours and they only 2 hours. Yeah, that I don't know anybody that I'm currently working with. I'm a headhunter, but I also do career coaching that isn't committed to the process, because you have to be, committed to the process, committed to the grind, and actually most of my people in my VIP program, they're working. So I understand they can sometimes only do 2 hours a day, but it's a very organized 2 hours a day, right? So and sometimes even looking for an opportunity, sometimes you don't like the one you're in, but you know what? You can change your situation, right? It's up to you. And but no, Alfonso, I really like what you shared today. 12 interviews in 30 days, that's amazing. And now 70% of those went to the next stage, that's amazing. That's not normal ratios, folks. What I tell people normal ratios is I look at statistics from the sales industry, because what we're doing here, the result is selling yourself to get an interview, right? So if the numbers are even less than this, but I'm going to use it's less than 30%. But if you convert something at a 30% rate, you're going to be in the Sales Hall of Fame. Mm-hmm. So that means 70% or more, 70 to 80%, you're getting no's. Alfonso's flipped it. He's doing pretty well. So his ratios are very, very good. I mean, I almost would say go play the lotto, or go swing some more, Alfonso. Maybe that's what you need to do, because those ratios are too good. Maybe you'd have 18 interviews and swung a little bit more, but I don't know. Right now, 12 interviews is a lot to manage. Is a lot, right? Because if 70% went to the next, now you got to play out traffic controller. That's a full-time job. So as you go through your career search, see what he did? He put a lot of effort on the front end. Now he's managing on the 30th day the back end results. That's a nice place to be. Nice place to be. And it took Alfonso 30 days. Now, I'll tell you this. It's not abnormal as a leader making over 6 figures for it to take 6 to 12 months, if not longer. But he's showing you how to short circuit the process. I believe you can short circuit the process, but you got to put in the grind. You got to put in the effort. And like he said, you'll have days when you're getting beat up. I'll tell you this, years ago when I was looking for a job, when I got laid off and it took me 6 months, there was days I'd go into my friend's office. He had an office. I'd dress up, take a shower, wouldn't change my own process. Went in, I'd bang out stuff for 8 hours, come home. And there was one day I was defeated. I was like, man, a lot of no's. And my wife saw that defeated look in my face. And she said, we're going to be all right. Man, that meant the world. That meant the world, right? Because I needed that at that moment. And so I know you guys are seeing something scroll around at the bottom of the screen. You can register. That I'm having a complimentary room that's opened up every Monday at noontime, and from here to the end of the year, middle December will be the last one. It's complimentary, but it's there as a support group. Hey, you don't have to search alone. Come in, get around some positive people. We're going to share, uplift each other, share leads, get to know each other, and cheer each other on, and provide that safe space. So if you want to vent, hey, you can vent, because we're going to say, hey, let's keep it positive. We're going to lift you up. Hey, I know somebody. You should call them. This is a good lead for you, So I love this conversation. We've been going on for over an hour and 20 minutes on a whim here. And I hope somebody sees this live stream and reaches out to Alfonso. So Alfonso, what's the best place people can reach you?
Oh man, you can reach me on LinkedIn. Just put in the search bar, Alfonso Stapler, or you can email me at alfonso.stapler@gmail.com. That's alfonso.stapler@gmail.com.
There you have it, folks. Alfonso, thank you for being brave to come up here, share your journey, and tell people that you're out there smiling and dialing and looking for the right fit opportunity. And I'll celebrate with you when you do that. We'll
go live again.
Yeah, we'll live stream it. It's like, hey, we'll live stream the good news. No, keep track of your numbers, because I want to when you get your next wonderful opportunity, I want you to come back. I want you to share an analysis of your numbers, what it took. Here you're on the 30th day, 12 interviews, 70% out, going on to the next phase. Now it comes down to which, hopefully you have multiple offers. That would be a great place to be, and that you're looking at multiple offers all at the same time. But nonetheless, you only need to take one, right? So that is the right one is where it's at. But I do want you to come back and let's break it down, keep track of those numbers, because I think you've got something to share and give people some hope that you can short circuit the job search. It can be done. And you're living proof that it is. And I believe exactly in what you're doing. Put the grind now so you can manage the back end effort. And so, hey, I just want to, any final words before we sign off today?
No. Hey, just keep smiling, darling. And trust the process. It's going to happen. It's going to turn around.
Is this you, Alfonso, man? This you right here? You're smiling?
That's me.
That's you. So, folks, we have the Alfonso Stapler here sharing his journey. Thank you for being brave. And do sign up and show up to that complimentary room. We'll receive you kindly. And I think Alfonso told me he's going to show up for people that didn't see this live stream and share a few tips of what's getting him interviews. Remember, that's what you need, interviews, right? The most important thing you can do. So, all right, folks, thank you for tuning in. We're 5 minutes from midnight here on the Eastern Standard Time. My goodness, this is a late live stream for me, but Alfonso, it was well worth it. I had a great time. And signing off. And we'll talk about the rest of the story next time Alfonso comes back. Have a great weekend, and we'll catch you on the flip side. Peace.